Hello, this is my incredibly high quality video about building a kicker ramp. This is our current ramp and we've been messing around on that for a while. We've learned some lessons. My friend Nick built this kicker. And this kicker is pretty legit, but it's pretty short from end to end. It's only about 37 inches. And it's got a 12-inch rise right here. And it's about 2 to 3 inches off of diagonal right here. So the thing has a tendency to buck you pretty good if you hit it fast. Yeah, man, good work. And so I wanted to try a second kicker. This one's nice because it's pretty light and it's well built and it works. But it's kind of good for slow, like, real good bunny hopping. The cool thing about it is, for our kids, we can slide together and they can just kind of run right over the top of it. The downside is that front tire pops up pretty good and the rear tire kind of stays on the ground. So I'm building V2, which is essentially a two-stage kicker that's a little bit longer. It's going to be about 48 inches from takeoff to launch, and I don't know what the distance on this is, whatever Sokotoa says. And I'm only going to come about an inch off of off of diagonal, so this is a real smooth, predictable hit. And I'm going to try and keep it a little skinnier and a little lighter. In fact, this is the wood I have right here. It's just this 3/4 inch plywood. It's pretty high quality, but obviously you can't drill this way. You need to drill this way. It's probably a good idea to do some pilot holes and maybe even some countersinking. This guy right over here will be the sides, and I'm just going to cut a straight diagonal line down there, making sure they're flush and they're even. And then I'm going to use, I got a bunch of these 1x. Or 2x, right? 2x2s laying around, so I'm just going to use these for sideways stabilizers. And I don't think I'll need many of them, so I think the thing will be pretty light and skinny and pretty predictable and fun to hit, and a little bit bigger than our 12-inch. I'm a little worried this is going to be bigger than I'm comfortable with, and I think it's just right on the edge of how big I'm comfortable with. But without, a crazy transition, I think it should be totally doable and a nice progression from our entry-level jump. If I had money and the world wasn't on shutdown, I would probably go to Home Depot and just follow Cody's plans from Lunch Ride. Because I really like that kicker he built, and those plans are legit. So that's what I would do if I had some extra money to spend. But as you can see, I spent all my money on my bike, which is amazing. So I would do it again in a heartbeat. And I got pretty close on the cut. I want to clean up this bottom a little bit. I want to make sure that there's no splintery things hanging off that are going to cut my fingers. And then once they're basically even, then I'm going to start building the frame. So that's the width of the board, that's the width of the ramp, that's the width of the sides. These two will go drilled in between, and then we'll drill the ramp here and here. Maybe countersunk, maybe not, I don't really know. But right now I'm going to cut a few of these because I've got a jillion of these 2x2s, and we're just going to see if it works. Now when you're doing this weak ass farm method of measuring your wood, you got to be careful because if you used the next piece to measure your piece of wood that you're cutting, then you're going to make any mistakes you're making on either side of the saw are going to compound, and so you're going to get series of larger or smaller cuts depending on how you kind of use the saw. So when you're using these not very high-end tools or methods, it's good to cut just one measuring piece, especially if it's a piece you can't use, and then just use that one over and over. Cody, how much are you going to judge me if I use these, what are these, concrete screws? I think these are concrete screws. Yeah, well, this is not a high-end project. Ran out of battery yesterday, but our current status is this. So we have pretty light frame. I think it'd be fine unless you hit it sideways. I'm probably going to add one more crossbar under here, and then I reserve the right to put a crossbar here and here. And other than that, our farm quality sketchy 18-inch weird kicker thing is done. But I'm being kind of retentive because one of the things I realized is that if I can cut down on this transition piece a little bit, but still keep it kind of tough, then I don't have to worry about the sharp pieces, these sharp corners down here breaking off. And I just don't care about those at all because this will rest on the ground. So the goal is I'm going to continue to sand this out, see if I can get a nice little angle. I just want to get close to that right there, and then we should be good to go. I have no idea what broke inside, but it's bad. And don't buy a Black & Decker polisher sander. I am kind of curious. Maybe I'll tear it apart and see what broke. But anyway, I have a different sander that I can use. Better one. Okay, sander number 2. DeWalt, which I think used to be a really good brand, and now I'm kind of over it, because they started making specific sanders for, or specific tools just for Home Depot that are actually a lower quality, so you can get the same models, but they actually aren't quite as well made. I think this is one of the old pre-Home Depot sander models, and it's pretty beefy for a little hand sander. But anyway, DeWalt ain't what it used to be. I don't know where you get the good stuff. Probably super expensive, like woodworking shops for incredibly wealthy hobbyists. I don't know. How's it going? Yeah, still good. Okay. Hitachi 18 volt. This thing has been a little powerhouse. One before this was a DeWalt and a Ryobi. I had kind of an entry level Ryobi. And it was great too, but that and a DeWalt kind of got clunky and crappy over time. This one's held up really well. I'm pretty impressed with this little Hitachi drill. It's a little 18 volt. And it works well. But I do need to drill it. Oh, I need some screws too. I don't know, maybe screws are overrated. Alright, I don't even think you necessarily need to drill pilot holes, but I like to because I don't want to split any of this wood. It's a little bit thin. I'm just at the edge of what I feel comfortable with all this stuff doing as far as stability goes. Not using 2x4s, not using huge plywood, not using a lot of cross struts and things like that. So things like pilot holes go a long way towards stability, maybe even countersinking and things like that, is because as long as you tighten with the correct amount of torque, you can build a pretty solid thing even with some individually not that strong pieces. I really kind of wish everything was open so I could get some real, like a box of real screws. I happened to recently kind of go through all my screws on accident, so this is, I don't know if you can see those, but this is the kind of shit that I'm using, which is just these leftover. Some of these are deck screws, some of these are, I think, drywall screws. Not ideal, but it'll do the trick. Found a bunch of garbage IKEA screws. I'm going to try and use these little things because they don't need to be super tough. I'm going to countersink with this little drill bit that I love. It's just going to give it a little bit of a, so you're not running over screws, and I'm going to use these flat wood screws to go in here. So we're going to see how that goes. Alright, hopefully this doesn't move. Cool. And we're done. Oh, shit, there's no way to carry it. Just carry it like this. Alright. Hopefully I didn't make it too wobbly. Hopefully this thing's pretty beefy. And it's pretty light. So that's exactly what I was shooting for. And it's pretty big. I think it'll be no big deal at all. Just shooting off of this thing, at least to that landing, but I don't know, we're gonna try it tomorrow morning.
The ramp ended up being a ton of fun for everyone. The 18 inches is just big enough to get some actual air and push the envelope for new riders, but the smooth transition is super forgiving if you screw up the speed. All in all, this is a great level 2 jump for old dudes who don't want to hurt themselves while still progressing, or kids that are just learning how to jump and stay over the center of the bike. It's a good build.